How's it going, guys? I'm here to review Halloween 2007, the remake.
Tonight's brutal murders was described by police as Manson-like in its viciousness. 3 people brutally murdered and a 10-year-old boy being held in custody.
So after Halloween Resurrection's bomb at the box office, Dimension Films decided to hop in on the trend of making horror remakes because the Texas Chainsaw Massacre already did it, House of Wax, The Fog, like all those early 2000 horror remakes. They decided, hey, let's just make a remake out of Halloween. And of course, this movie is directed by Rob Zombie. Yes, the Rob Zombie musician that made Dragula and Living Dead Girl. So this movie is directed by a musician, and it really shows because this movie is just batshit crazy, wild, and just all over the place. So the plot for this movie is basically the same thing as the original. Just the only difference is this movie digs deep into Michael's origin of when he was a kid and how his family was like, and like his interaction between them before he kills them later that Halloween night. Yeah, let's just say the family's not what you expect. Once you watch the movie, you're probably gonna get a headache from the family. I'm just gonna say it then. It's basically Michael's living in a white trash home. His mom's a stripper. His stepdad is like abusive, like alcoholic stepdad, I guess. And then his sister's like a hoe, pretty much. And Michael, I guess he's already... This is the problem with this movie. It doesn't dig too deep of why Michael Myers does what he does in this movie, because in the original timeline, it's pretty much a cult, and he has to murder his family or his bloodline. But in this movie, or these remakes, they really give you no explanation of why Michael Myers is just crazy, because I guess in the interview with Rob Zombie, I guess he's explaining it because it's just simply because he's just born crazy, I guess. And that's where young Mikey goes into a sanitarium, just like in the original one. But in this one, you meet more characters at the sanitarium. You meet the sanitarium worker, Danny Trejo. He's in this movie. Danny Trejo, Machete. Malcolm McDowell plays Dr. Loomis. Yes, the same Malcolm McDowell who was in Clockwork Orange. But, see, he's perfectly casted as Dr. Loomis, in my opinion. But he's just an asshole at the same time. Like, he's perfectly casted as Dr. Loomis, but the way they executed Loomis's character in these remakes, especially this one, he's just an asshole because he's just a money-hungry, like, book writer. He's really just talking to Michael for his ratings, for his books, for his sales, and he really doesn't give a crap of what, like, the victims go through later on in this movie or in the next movie. So, yeah, I don't really like what Zombie did with the Loomis character, but, I mean, it is what it is. And Michael Myers does look cool. I like his mask in this movie. His mask is kind of beat up looking, kind of like, you can tell it's like a little rotten decaying, but it's like still beat up and it still looks like Michael Myers, right? And then his jumpsuit's brown instead of blue like in the original one. But my only problem is Michael Myers is played by Tyler Mane. He's just too big, too bulky. But overall, still looks good in the suit, still looks cool and badass, but just too tall in my opinion. But yeah, Michael's just killing rats.
Oh, shit! A rat!
Pets at first, and then, which is like the early stages of him becoming a monster. And eventually, Halloween night, his sister doesn't want to take him because she's too busy fondling with her boyfriend. And the mom has to go to strip club and work. So I guess one night he just effing snapped, grabs a baseball bat, kills the chick's boyfriend, and then just grabs a butcher knife and kills his whole family pretty much. Kind of like just like the original one, but just with more death, more explanation, more white trash, if that makes sense. So of course, Michael escapes on Halloween night, and pretty much fights Ken Foree from Dawn of the Dead original, from the Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, Devil's Rejects, you name it. So he fights, his character's name is Joe Grizzly. He fights Joe Grizzly in the restroom, eventually kills him, takes his mechanic suit, And then, of course, he goes back to his old house and reclaims his iconic mask. And that's when he decides to stalk his youngest sister, Laurie Strode, which is played by Taylor Scout Compton. And then Danielle Harris is back. She plays Annie, not Jamie Lloyd in this timeline. She plays Annie. And yeah, like, it's just, and from this point forward, it's just like the original John Carpenter movie, but the only difference is it's just more out there, more gorier, more, just more shit, like, just everywhere pretty much, if that makes sense. Yes, this movie is gory. It's hella brutal. The kills are just hella sadistic. Yeah, the special effects in this movie is great. The plot, like I said, the plot could have been executed a little bit better, but I appreciate it for being different. The characters, good. Some of them are well written, and some of them are just not well written. My other problem with this movie is, yes, they dig deep into Michael's origin, which is different. That's one of the few things I found this remake interesting, but yet at the same time, it just kind of ruins Michael's mystery. Like, just like, because all the original movies before the whole cult reveal, you never knew like what Michael's purpose was, or why he was like a Grim Reaper type, or why he was like supernatural, why he was like like pretty much death, like the walking Grim Reaper. Like, he was a supernatural being that didn't have any explanation of why he wouldn't die. And this movie, they give you too much explanation of his childhood and his family. I think it was a little too much, in my opinion. Maybe they could have cut down like at least 15 minutes of that, but yeah, they showed too much. That kind of ruins the mystery, the mystique of Michael Myers, because John Carpenter's original Halloween, it was all about the mystery of Michael Myers. He's the living, they call him the Shape. He's the walking death, the Grim Reaper type. But this movie, yeah, no mystery. So Michael is killing your people one by one just to get Laurie. Like in the original, the only difference is it's just gory, and I guess it some scenes does subvert your expectations. So, but what did I think of this movie? This movie, it's not a bad remake. I'll say this. It's compared to all the other remakes that I've seen in my lifetime. This is honestly one of the good ones in my opinion. It's really I can tell Zombie was trying to make something different, but at the same time, was the execution like perfect? No, the execution was not perfect at all. But I appreciated how he was trying to dig deep to Michael's origin and try to make it different and then try to put some style into it, some like heavy metal style or like some 70s aesthetic into it. So or some like groovy aesthetic. So I kind of appreciate that, because the soundtrack in this movie is pretty fire. You got like Nazareth, Love Hurts, or Misfits, Halloween, just like that spooky vibe, which I truly appreciate. And this movie does have a good cast. I mean, it has Ken Foree, like I said. It has Brad Dourif as Sheriff Brackett. Brad Dourif voices Chucky. And you have Danielle Harris from the other Halloween movies. She's back. You have Dee Wallace. She plays Laurie Strode's adoptive mother. Dee Wallace was in The Howling. She was in Cujo. She was the mom in E.T. So it's a cool cast. And yeah, of course, Danny Trejo. But the movie, I can tell it tried so hard to be different, but at the same time, the execution just wasn't there, if that makes sense. But I appreciate this movie for at least trying to be sort of different. I love the Halloween, like, October feel, like, aesthetic to this movie. I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack's pretty good. I like the Halloween theme covered by, I think it was covered by Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, so that's pretty cool. Yes, this movie's entertaining. It's not too bad of a remake. I've seen worse remakes, believe me. Yeah, it's just nothing can beat John Carpenter's classic, of course. I love John Carpenter's first Halloween movie. That Halloween movie, the original, will always be the best, and it will always kicks ass, and it will always be one of the best horror movies of all time. But this movie, not a bad remake, but execution could have been better. That's just my opinion. And it's just like, how can I say it? And a lot of other Halloween fans they compare the first movie like the Bible, right? The first movie's like a Bible, but the remake is like graffiti all over it because it's just so like batshit crazy. if I have to give this movie out of 10, I would give this movie a solid 7 out of 10. It wasn't too bad, but certainly it wasn't all that great. It was pretty average, so I enjoyed it. I found it very entertaining. So that was my quick review of Halloween 2007. Please leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next Halloween movie.
You haven't said a word for 15 years.
This summer, Rob Zombie unleashes a unique vision of a legendary tale